Welcome back to Almost Sideways, a place for movie conversations. My name is Adam, and today's conversation is going to be about the Final Destination franchise. We are only a couple weeks away from the release of Final Destination Bloodlines. I'm really excited to dive into that film once we get our hands on it. But today, we are here with our fourth entry in the franchise, and we're reviewing the Final Destination, which is not the final film. It's the fourth film in the franchise, but of course they had to put the in front of the title just to confuse us all. So this is going to be a fun conversation. This one is notably one of the worst ones in the franchise. A lot of people have that opinion on this film, so we will see where I fall on the franchise after this watch. But before I jump into my thoughts, takes, and opinions on the film, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about the Final Destination. Do you guys like it? Did you guys not like it? What's your favorite kill in the franchise? Let me know in the comments section down below. And of course, if you guys are enjoying this film conversation and love me breaking down this film series film by film, think about dropping a like and subscribe on the channel and having a good conversation in the comments section down below. We would love to have you be there and talking this film with you. The Final Destination came out in 2009. It's directed by David R. Ellis, the same director of Final Destination 2. And before I jump into the synopsis of the film, I just want to make it apparent that this movie did come out in the height of the 3D era, where everything from animated movies to big blockbusters to even horror films were coming out in 3D. We saw many horror franchises jump into the 3D space and try to get that extra little bit of money in the box office bottom line. And this franchise definitely kicked it off as one of the blatant knockoffs of that kind of technology. And I'm not a big fan of 3D to begin with. There's some really good takes of 3D like Avatar and even some of the animated movies out there. But overall, 3D is just not for me. I'm not a big fan of that that time. I think it's just the blatant 3D effects where they focus everything at the camera. It's just not for me, and unfortunately a lot of the deaths do play with a 3D trope here, and I've never seen the movie in 3D, so I can't really speak of how well it does transition or translate to that format, but so I will just speak for the regular experience here. The film does follow four friends as they're attending a race at the motor speedway and hoping to see a possible car crash. One of them really wants to go see the movies, and of course, we are introduced to a lot of unsavory people sitting around them, and even our characters that we do follow throughout the runtime of the film maybe are not as likable as other entries in the franchise, but that's not nor here nor there. This movie is completely set in the early 2010s because if it wasn't apparent enough with the 3D elements, we also have Shinedown blasting an amazing song over this really exhilarating race. And it got me kind of pumped, and I kind of forgot about that Shinedown was on the soundtrack to this movie. I'm a fan of Shinedown's earlier music there, so it's kind of cool to hear him on this movie here. So, of course, we have the premonition sequences, a big car crash, and a lot of deaths do happen, and they do play off the 3D effects. The 3D in the opening is really apparent. There are several kills, really play with that 3D effect. So I'm kind of curious a little bit to see how that would have translated. So, of course, our lead character who has the premonition, his name is Nick, played by Bobby Campo. He spreads the word, hey, we got to get out of here. We're going to die. A lot of people get kicked out of the racetrack. And, of course, all hell broke loose, and a lot of people did die and lost their lives at the racetrack. Of course, the movie does feel a lot like a fourth chapter of any film franchise. It's slowly losing steam in kind of a creative way to present these movies, so that's why I feel like they went the 3D route. I feel like the Final Destination franchise was slowly losing steam after the highs of Final Destination 3. They needed something to be completely different than the rest of the franchise, but also stay relevant in the horror landscape and film landscape as well, and so 3D was a big thing. I think other franchises in the horror space were taking note and seeing what Final Destination's box office numbers were, and I think that's one reason why Saw 7, the last chapter, also got a 3D release, because it needed to kind of go off with a bang in that franchise, and of course the Final Destination had to kind of revitalize this franchise as well, because we wanted to see something new and bigger and better, and I think 3D was a unique way to present some of the over-the-top gory deaths. And while I never saw the 3D play out on the big screen, and I can totally see where a lot of the kills were set up to kind of utilize that 3D technology, and while it doesn't really look great nowadays, I think it could probably have looked pretty decent back in the day. As we slowly see our characters picked off, I'm not really drawn to any specific kill in this movie as being one of the all-time best kills of all time in the franchise. One of the big changes this movie did do was they added another rule where the person having the premonitions was having multiple kind of hints at how the other victims were possibly going to die, leading up to his inevitable death as well. So that was a completely different twist and take on anything we've seen before, and I kind of don't really like that. I think I like the spontaneous nature, and without the hints being given. There's a lot of crazy kills that do happen in this one. You don't really see how they're all set up and put together right away, but having the character have multiple premonitions and completely out of left field, mind you, kind of I didn't really care for it. Another big thing I didn't like about this movie either was that never utilized Tony Todd. Tony Todd was not in this film, and he was Mr. Bloodworth in the other ones, and he was able to drop little hints and little info, and even hearing his voice in Final Destination 3 was always a fun time when you see Tony Todd pop up, so I was missing that in this movie. We also are introduced to another character named George who is trying to help out Nick here. He is played by Malik Teeth Williamson. He played in a lot of other great movies too, like Forrest Gump and Heat there in Con Air. But having him pop up was kind of a familiar face we've seen, and having him help out was also kind of fun as well. And he kind of replaced Tony Todd a little bit, but having more hands-on perspective there too. The film also introduces this premise that if you try to kill yourself and it's not your time to die, you can't you can actually die. So I think that's interesting. So George was a scene where he's like, I try to kill myself all day. I try to hang myself, I try to drink myself to death. I ate some poison, and I can't die. Like, this is ridiculous. I guess it's not my time yet, until time was up for him. Well, this movie is not nearly as good as the other films in the franchise, and I think this is my least favorite at this point. It's kind of damn entertaining. At 82 minutes, the movie just definitely flies by. It's not shot the best. It's not acted the best. Some of the deaths are not nearly as cool as the others. One of my stupidest death in this movie is the swimming pool scene where the guy gets his butthole sucked up to this machine. That death is in a swimming pool is so dumb. I think it has to be one of the biggest douchebags in the entire franchise as well. But it's doesn't really have any of the most unique or great kills in this movie, but there was still some fun to be had. It definitely feels like a time capsule of the early 2010s, late 2000s. So I give it that. It's nothing that I ever want to pop back in and experience, like, unless I'm watching the film in its entirety. I would watch Final Destination 3. I'll put that in anytime, and that's going to be entertaining. But the Final Destination, probably not going to go just seek this one out just to rewatch it. But as I'm watching the film franchise, I'm entertained by it, even though I don't really like the crazy, over-the-top, like, poorly designed CGI and the 3D effects. I just do not care for that whatsoever. And again, the CGI here is blatantly bad. There is multiple shots where the kills just look completely cheap and not realistic whatsoever. And again, a lot of CGI does come to play in like Final Destination 2 and 3. However, some of that was also kind of like looked practical, in a sense too, where it looked kind of believable. But in this one, there's blatantly obvious stuff that's off with it, and it's pulls you out of the experience of this film. And the ending also, it's funny that there's another premonition. It's like, actually, this is how we're all supposed to die again. It's very similar to Final Destination 3 with the subway, but this one, they're at a diner, and they're about to die too. So it's a fun experience if you turn your brain off and you don't look at it as the greater whole of the franchise there. And if you don't mind new rules being thrown into it without any explanation. So, again, I'm still really low on this movie. It's still an entertaining watch to kind of go back and experience a unique era of horror where it wasn't. It was getting a lot more money, and they were producing these ones and wanted to do even more with the 3D elements of it. There was a promising premise here. The execution didn't pay off for me, and even on rewatch, it's an entertaining, fun to laugh at experience, but overall, it's near the bottom of my Final Destination thoughts. So, well, that's my quick thoughts, takes, and opinions on the Final Destination. You guys like it more than I did, or do you want to trash it more in the comments section? Let me know in the comments section down below. Let's have a fun conversation down there. And remember, if you did like this review, this is not the only time I talked about the Final Destination. I have reviewed the previous 3 films, and I have 2 more films in the franchise to do, along with some rankings. So make sure you guys check the pinned comment down below. That will be the review for the first film in the franchise, so you guys can get started there. Until next time, guys, my name is Adam. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, my friends.